What's the story with Rush Limbaugh? Was he a Zionist? Was he pro-Israel, even above and beyond being pro-American? I've been thinking about this a lot lately as we start to see that a lot of people in influential positions in our world are supporting Israel at any and all costs. You see these senators, they're like, yeah, I'm all supporting. It's the best. They're the best thing since sliced bread, Uh it's weird now. It's weird as we are waking up to all sorts of BS around our world. And it's like Kennedy said, he wanted these lobbying groups that are basically Israeli lobbying arms to be registered as foreign agents. And it seems reasonable. Let's be real. I mean, we're sending billions of dollars over there. America has its own challenges. We could use that money here. What I've got here, I'm on rushlimbaugh.com, and I've got a video here. This is from May 18th, 2021. I don't remember when he passed away, but I thought it was around that time. And someone's asking him about his recent trip, or his trip to Israel. I don't know how recent it was, but it's an interview. Rush said, now let's make no mistake about it. There's a whole lot of Islamic nations in the Middle East who want there to be no Israel. And they want to accomplish this by forcing all citizens of Israel to march into the Mediterranean Sea and drown. I think he's pushing the same propaganda that the military-industrial complex is. We pretty much know it's a lie now. We know Iraq was a lie. We know Libya was a lie. They both wanted to sell their oil for gold. I think Americans have been played. I'm not shy about saying that. And I've got a video here that's 8 minutes and 26 seconds long about Rush Limbaugh and his trip to Israel. Let's see how he aligns, and then we can talk about it. Here we go.
Vacation. We showed you the first show of our new season earlier this week. I went to Israel for 4 days in July. Actually, 5 days, jam-packed, a combination of political and religious sites on my tour. And I played a little snippet of some of the things I did. And I want to go through that tape, because when I played it the first time,
thank you,
I intended to have some discussion afterwards and some descriptions of things on the tape, and I didn't have a chance to do that. So I want to play the highlights again, and because a lot of people have requested it anyway, because of the tank footage. It's the last thing you'll see. It's funny. And we come back from this. I want to go to the truck.
I see a bunch of people just joined to give you an update on what we're doing. I'm watching, because Rush Limbaugh was very influential for conservative talk radio. My feeling is that a lot of these talk radio people, I know a lot of them now, Charlie Kirk, they basically support Israel and Trump at any and all costs, despite, we didn't get the Epstein files. We didn't get the JFK files. Bombing a foreign country. They support them at all costs, which I don't think is a very good idea. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to look into Rush Limbaugh, because I listen to a lot of Rush Limbaugh. I was raised conservative. I consider myself conservative, but even beyond that now, I just consider myself a human being, right? And so we're watching a video here of Rush Limbaugh talking about his trip to Israel to just understand. I mean, was he under the influence? I think a lot of these talk show hosts are paid by the money changers in the world to say certain things and sway public opinion and influence. So here we go.
Chuck, we've got a couple maps over there, and I'm going to try to explain to you what I've learned, which helps you understand exactly what this fight in the Middle East is all about. So here's my vacation on video once again. This is Masada, by the way, down in the southern tip of the Dead Sea. It's about 120 degrees that day. This is inside the Knesset. Chagall artwork. I am taking pictures there. Wide-angle lens. I am getting it all. There's the Speaker of the Knesset. I am handing him a pre-Castro Cuban cigar. I'm doing the same thing here to the curator of the Israeli Museum. There's Rabin. He and I have just discussed peace, ladies and gentlemen. The meeting is over. We're coming out. I'm presenting him a pre-Castro Cuban cigar there. I'm now signing in at the Knesset, making sure they know I was there. Rush Limbaugh, EIB, New York. Praying at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. Here I'm at Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem. That is Benjamin Netanyahu there, close up, explaining. This is Israel from the air. As we're flying up to the Golan Heights, I'm going to get a military briefing there. And here I'm going to command a Merkava 3 tank. Note that I look nothing like Michael Dukakis here. Actually, look, I know what I'm doing. Commanding this tank, pointing the direction to go, and the tank is going that direction. Notice it's moving to the right, and there we are. We're through. Now, thank you. First thing I want to show you is a whole map of the general area of the Middle East. This is Iraq. This is Syria. This is Jordan here. Egypt, the Sinai Peninsula. Saudi Arabia. Over here is Iran. Right in here, I don't know how close that we're going to be able to get on this, but I'll trace Israel for you. It basically is from here down to here and up to there. That is Israel, surrounded by all of these states, which are indeed enemies of Israel. Now, inside Israel, you see this little yellow area that is the same.
They've got to stoke that, oh, it's Israel against the world. Oh, all these Arab states want to do harm. Meanwhile, what is it? Israel's bombed 6 countries of their neighbors in the last 6 months. Benjamin Netanyahu said if we take out Saddam Hussein way back in early 2000s, positive reverberations will happen in the area. I don't see any positive reverberations. Benjamin Netanyahu, I believe, also said that tragic event that happened in early 2000s was good for Israel. We do know about the dancing Israelis. They were held for 75 days by the FBI and then released. I mean, there's some sketchy stuff going on. Let's continue.
Same color here as Jordan. That is the West Bank. And let's move over here to a larger map of Israel, and you can see the West Bank here that is now the really area under discussion. Gaza Strip here, this is what the Israelis have given to the Palestinians, and Jericho, which is basically right here, small town, about 55,000 people, northeast, as you can see from Jerusalem here, which is the capital of Israel, and it's disputed. All 3 basic main religions of the world think that this is theirs. Now, the interesting thing, the Jordan River is troops through here, and all of this land is considered the West Bank of the Jordan River. You'll note it's the same color as Jordan. This used to be Jordan territory that was captured by Israel in the 1967 war. On the 3rd day of the 67 war, Jordan attacked after Israel had attacked from over here, and Lebanon and Syria had attacked from the north. Jordan then attacked on the 3rd day, figuring they better get on the action, and the Israelis pushed them back and then began to occupy this land. That's why it's now called occupied territories. They consider it, by virtue of heritage and the Bible, they consider it theirs. And what has been given back in these negotiations is this little bit of Jericho here and the Gaza Strip. Now, the Palestinians claim that all of this is theirs and they're going to make it theirs in time. The Israelis don't want that to happen. And Ariel Sharon, who is their Schwarzkopf, or their Ike Patton, all rolled into one, created the settlements. If you've heard and read about the settlements, they are all here in the West Bank. This is very hilly, and the terrain here is very high. These settlements are built on top of these hills, and these roads that go through as by the way they've been constructed. These settlements are on both sides of the road, purely defensive in posture, so that if an attack is made against Israel, they are able to sandwich the attackers on these roads. Now, the people who've created the settlements are very much concerned that this area will revert to total Palestinian control because of this deal. Rabin says it won't, Peres says it won't, but the opposition fears that it will. If it does, and here's what Israel's primary fear is, the distance from here, right here to here, is 9 miles. This is a nation that would be 9 miles wide, and all of this, from Syria to Lebanon to Iraq to Saudi Arabia to Jordan to Egypt, is Israel's enemy. You can come over here and put your thumb basically on this map and cover Israel. Yet all of this is Arab. And the Israelis who are angry at this don't understand why they're giving up so little of what they have left anyway, or so much of what they have left. And when you're there and go to the Golan Heights up here and you see all this, you see these enemies around. General Sharon took me here and we looked from these high points here. You can see the border. I mean, you can actually, the enemy could be so close to your heartland here that it's frightening to them. And When you understand the geography, it helps to put all of this in perspective and understand why there is a lack of trust and so forth. We've got to take a break here. I'm a little bit over time.
Okay, we've got about a quarter left of this video.
We'll do it and be back with whatever we can squeeze in our remaining moments after this. Thanks. Welcome back. Now, during the break, I asked the audience, now, did you understand that? Because I felt like I had to go through this real quickly. And they said that I said at some point that Israel attacked. I don't remember saying that, but I don't dispute them because I know I was talking very rapidly. Israel didn't attack. Israel defended. Let me explain. The 6-Day War in 1967, Israel basically was attacked by Egypt and by Syria and Lebanon and by Jordan, and on different days. And the remarkable thing about the 6 days is that they beat back every one of these attacks, and in the process took some territory. They took the West Bank, which is right here, which was under Jordan control. And
remember in 1967 also, and I don't trust what he says, that they were attacked. I'm skeptical of anything I hear in the news and media. But remember in 1967, Israel, I think it was June-ish, fact check me on that, Israel attacked the USS Liberty. That was during that war. They wanted to do a false flag and pull the United States in. I think they killed 34 people, sailors, Americans on the USS Liberty, and injured like 100 and some. They wanted to sink the ship. The ship was not sank, and nothing ever came of it.
And this really is part of Jordan, and the Palestinians claim that they want this land as their Palestinian state, but they've always had a place to go in Jordan. 70% of the population of Jordan right here is Palestinian already. During the 67 war, when the Egypt attacked, the Israelis took the Sinai Peninsula. It's worthless, and they gave it back during the Camp David peace accords. Israel, the point here, is giving land back at a very high rate because they feel the world stacked against them in terms of public opinion. That it's up to Israel to make peace. The occupied territories here in the West Bank are portrayed as the Israelis have occupied this land and so forth. They think it's land they're entitled to. This is really the crux of the situation. The Israelis and the Palestinians, and I take no sides here. I'm just trying to help you understand what all the furor
Does he?
The Israelis and Palestinians both think they have a birthright to this particular plot of land. Attempts have been made to structure states for Israel and Palestine side by side. The Palestinians in 1948 refused to do that, and war broke out. And in the process of trying to make peace, Israel has, by the way, took the Golan Heights from Syria in the 67 war, and that's here, and that's the next to go. They'll give up.
I don't know that it was war as much as I believe it was the Nakba, right? The catastrophe, driving 700,000 Palestinians from their home. It's not a war to me. A war is a soldier with a gun and a soldier with a gun fighting. A war is not militant forces going into unarmed civilians and unaliving them and driving them from their home. That's not a war to me. That's a freaking catastrophe like the Nakba talks about.
Give up the Golan Heights, give it back to Syria. They don't think they're giving up the West Bank, but a lot of people fear that they ultimately are going to have that happen. And Israel is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And the opponents of the peace are worried that pretty soon every bit of Israel is going to be given away and it's going to be impossible to defend. I hope in the limited amount of time that we have here that helps put some of this in perspective.
Well, there you go. I'm sus of these talk show hosts, especially, like I said, this came about the other day when I was listening to Charlie Kirk and also Glenn Beck's. They basically cry over it. And I see debauchery, because when you look at who the founding fathers of Israel are, bankers, the Balfour Declaration, why it's there. It's clearly a business deal. Even in a video I'm about ready to share on my social media at G. Mark Phillips with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she ends the video reminding that, to her Christian friends and constituents, Israel is a secular state. It's not the Israel of the Bible. Let me see what we got here. I used to support Israel as we are brainwashed that Christians must support Jews in their actions as they are the chosen people of God. I don't think you're alone in that by any stretch of the imagination. So how do you feel now? I mean, I'm assuming since you said you used to support them that you don't support them any longer. Um, I was watching a Jimmy Dore, to your comment, I was watching a Jimmy Dore video, and I always go to the comments of videos to see what the people are saying. I love comments. And so I was in there, and it was about, Israel, and some woman had gone there on a pilgrimage, and she changed her mind about what Israel is all about. And then in the comments, there was a lot of comments saying things like, I went there at a certain time, and I was a Christian, and I was pro Israel. And when I went there and saw with my own eyes, I woke up. Um, no, your language was fine. I just was clarifying. It sounds like you don't support them anymore. But yeah, in the comments, and I want to do a video of this on my in the Hot Topic series, showing people go there and they think it's going to be, they think they're going to see goodwill toward Palestinians, and the Israeli people being the morally superior as they claim to be, and all their whitewashing Hasbara media, and they don't see that. They see them treating Palestinians very, very poorly. Even Israeli people that live there, they don't know how they're being how the Palestinians are being treated until they get their eyes open. My story is, I had my eyes open after October 7th, and I started looking into it because I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? This seems really wild that one of the most sophisticated defense systems in the world broke down for a number of hours and allowed the debauchery to happen. I'm like, seems like that event that happened in the United States in early 2000s, very implausible. And then I just asked myself, if our government, or if their government, can't protect them against things like that happening, what's the point of having a government? And so I just started asking questions, and I did a bunch of research, did a bunch of deep dives into a bunch of documentaries, Tantura, the Other Israel, the Ted Pike movie, the Mystery of Israel at stopworldcontrol.com/Israel. And I just started looking around, and in a few short hours, I was like, holy shit, Israel's the problem, right? And then it makes sense. It's not hard to put the pieces together. It's like, governments don't solve problems, they create them. Ronald Reagan told us back in the 80s, and it rings true every single time you see something. Anytime the government gets involved, it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be problematic. Government was involved in 20 years in Afghanistan, and then they left billions of dollars of equipment there. And Joe Biden, probably 15, 20 years prior to that, or 10 years prior to that, said, if I'm president, I will leave and I'll take the equipment, because we don't want to leave the equipment there these people are just clowns. It's a clown show one day after another. And I just pray that Americans wake up and don't get further misled and or hurt by them, to be quite honest. But I was just curious about Rush Limbaugh. Which is not true. I don't hate JEWS, but I feel so sorry for Palestinians. I agree with that statement. Okay. I agree with that statement. I don't either. Early on in this situation, after the October 7th thing, someone close to me in my life, I said, hey, Israel is a problem. Because it's not even Israeli, even a large number of Israeli people think their government is problematic. They were right before October 7th. They were going to march in the streets because they felt Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likud party were taking too much power away from the people. They were just going, you remember they were messing with the courts. There was a courts issue in Israel. There was just a lot of uprising in Israel by the people. And then all of a sudden, the October 7th thing happens. And I told my this person, I said, I'm pro-Jewish people as well. I'm not pro the government of Israel, and I'm also not pro the money changers that are involved in the business deals in Israel. They're there for, I think it's a footprint in the Middle East for oil. I think it's a footprint in the Middle East for diamonds, for other business deals, and they do it under the auspices of under the pretense of, hey, we're there because we want to do these good things for the JEWISH people. Anytime government says they're doing something for one reason, it's the exact opposite reason. It's all to benefit their themselves and the people that run the government, which it always is bankers and business people and billionaire philanthropists. This is why Bill Gates gets a meeting with the president and the government, and John Smith on the street does not. So, Christine Anderson, the very outspoken member of the European Parliament, said, "Cui bono," always ask who benefits and never take anything your government says at face value. That's just knowing history. My favorite quote is, if you trust your government, you do not know history. You cannot have both of those things going on. What's the topic here? Just scrolling. The topic is investigating right-wing media, specifically conservative talk show hosts, specifically Rush Limbaugh, and seeing what their take was on Israel. We watched a video on rushlimbaugh.com. I think media in general and talk radio has basically captured conservatives' minds, because what I've noticed in the world is we're heading in a direction. Got a lot of people listening to talk radio. Let's be real, conservative talk radio, but things don't seem to be changing. And I think talk radio, specifically conservative talk radio pacifies the right. Liberal talk radio and hosts and shows pacify the left, and nothing gets solved. Nothing gets solved because I think it's like a dopamine hit. They think, oh, if people are learning about it, they're going to think the problem's being solved, and it's not being solved. I think corruption is at an all-time high, right? But that's what we're talking about here, and looking into Rush Limbaugh, because he's, since he's no longer with us, I would be curious to see what he says right now, but I bet you 100 to 1, and we know this by looking at his past, he would be saying the same thing that Charlie Kirk is saying. He'd be saying the same thing that all these, Trump supporters, despite any and all evidence that he's not working for us, are saying. Charlie Kirk has videos out there. He's like, yeah, Trump can do no wrong in these people's eyes. And so I just think it's kind of sketchy. Thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. There you go. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate you doing that. If you want to follow other places, I share different content about the events that are unfolding in our world from a conscious and a more awake and aware standpoint, not biased, right? Just what's the best for humanity? What's the best for not only Americans, but all human beings, because we're all connected, right? What happens in Iraq to those human beings affects us. What happens in Libya affects us. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. We're all connected. And like Ken O'Keefe says, Gaza's coming to America. Gaza's coming to us if we don't wake up. How they treat one person is how they treat all people. You will know them by their fruits. If they will oppress and terrorize Palestinians to get what they want, which was the land at the time, they'll oppress and terrorize Americans to get what they want. They'll oppress and terrorize anyone to get what they want. Like how a person treats one person is how they treat all people. I think Americans have been largely used and abused and exploited for our money and for our support. And I think people are waking up. So many people are talking about it. So there you go. Thanks very much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you in the next one. Have an awesome day.